So you hear it all the time, right? The Federal Reserve is steering our economy. But to do that, they need a good compass, a reliable map. And the big question today is, in this incredibly complex world, are they even looking in the right direction?
For decades, there have been these two main ways of thinking about it. On one side, you've got the one that gets all the headlines, the federal funds rate. You know the drill. The Fed raises it to slow things down, lowers it to speed things up. But there's this other kind of old school idea that's making a serious comeback, just controlling the actual amount of money in the system, what we call money growth.
But here's the thing. When economists build their models to figure out the effects of that champion indicator, the interest rate, they keep running into this really weird problem. Something just doesn't add up.
It's something called the price puzzle, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Imagine the Fed raises interest rates to fight inflation. The model should show inflation going down, but instead it shows inflation going up for a while. It's the literal opposite of what's supposed to happen, and it is a massive headache for economists. I mean, if your model can't even get the basic direction right, how can you possibly trust it?
So this is the really crucial point, right? If the very models we rely on to understand how policy works can't get something this fundamental correct, how much faith can we really put in them when the stakes are so high? It really makes you question the entire framework.
And this is where a really fascinating new academic paper comes into play. A couple of researchers decided to put these two competing ideas to the test, but in a totally new arena. One that's designed to be way smarter and a whole lot more realistic.
See, they used a much more advanced kind of model. It's not just looking in the rearview mirror at past data. This thing is built to be forward-looking. It tries to guess how you, me, and businesses will react to policy in the future, which is, exactly what the real Federal Reserve has to do every single day.
And they didn't just run this thing once. Oh no. To make sure the results were solid, they ran their model under an absolutely mind-boggling number of different conditions. Over 241,000 different scenarios for each of the two indicators. They were basically stress testing these ideas to the absolute limit.
All right, so let's get to the results. The main event. First up, in this new advanced arena, how did the reigning champ, the federal funds rate, actually perform?
You don't even have to take my word for it. Look at what the authors themselves wrote. They didn't pull any punches. They found, and I quote, large regions of puzzling responses. That old price puzzle problem? Yeah, it was back, and it was back with a vengeance. So how large is large? This number just says it all. In over 99% of those hundreds of thousands of tests, using the interest rate as the guide gave them a puzzling result. The model kept saying that tightening policy would either make inflation go up or mess with economic output in a way that just made no sense. The champion's flaw was on full display. Okay, so the interest rate did not do so well. But what about the challenger? How did the money growth idea hold up when it was put through the exact same tough test? Now, to be clear, when we say money, they weren't just counting the coins and bills out there. They used this really sophisticated broad measure called Divisia M4. The best way to think about it is it's not just cash, it's a measure of the total available spending power in the entire economy. It gives you a much richer, more complete picture.
And here it is. The difference is just night and day. When they used that broad measure of money growth, they got sensible, non-puzzling, totally logical results in almost 96% of the tests. An expansionary policy led to higher inflation and output, just like the textbooks say it should. The contrast is just stark.
So, what's the verdict? In this head-to-head showdown, inside this more realistic, forward-looking model, one indicator consistently gave nonsensical results. The other one, well, it behaved exactly how you would expect it to almost every single time.
So what's the big takeaway here? I mean, it really seems like we might be a little too fixated on just one number. The federal funds rate is obviously important, but this research makes a really strong case that these broader measures of money can give us a much clearer, more reliable signal. It's a huge reminder that the tools we use to test our ideas are just as important as the ideas themselves.
And it all leaves us with this one kind of provocative thought. If the main tool we use to understand and predict monetary policy consistently breaks down in our most advanced models, could it be that the most watched number in all of economics isn't giving us the full story? And maybe more importantly, what else might we be missing?